And finish, you said they were live.
Oh, we're live. All right. See, I can't see it, so that's... All right, so hey guys, it's the TED Show, episode 54, with my friend, the attorney guru, Justin Clark. You guys may or may not remember that Justin did a show with me the Friday before Irma hit, and unfortunately, due to my lack of technology experience, it was a silent show, and I'm not sure any of you got to see it. So we are hopefully live, and hopefully you all can hear us. So please let me know that you can hear us. I see there are people on right now. So just let us know that you can hear us, and then we will get right to the show. So welcome, Justin.
And my marketing guy was here that day, but he was in a hoodie and Jordans or something.
Oh man, see the marketing. And by the way, his marketing guy's behind the camera right now, so he can't say anything. He just give us dirty looks.
The Citrus Club.
Yeah, hoodie. That's good. Was he in a hoodie and sandals or shorts?
I think it was the MJs or the Jordans.
Nice.
Yeah.
18th
So
floor.
How you been?
What's up, man? How you been? Thanks for
Traveling
seeing you.
again.
Are you kidding me? Thank you for putting up with the fact that we recorded a great show, and I spent hours trying to figure out how to get the vocals done, and I had messed it up completely.
I don't have anything that interesting to say. Anyway.
You
I'm
do.
sure we didn't miss much, you know?
No, I think, and you know what? We missed so much that I did a show on that Saturday before Irma came through.
I saw that.
Just to talk about insurance, because what we had discussed that day was so important,
Right.
especially with all of that going on. So welcome back, and thanks for putting up with all
pal. No,
that.
good to be here. Thank you.
It's great to have somebody else behind the camera. This is big stuff. Hey, you know, if Jake can come work for wine or cocktails, I could probably pay him. That's my currency.
Not during the week, please.
Not during the week. Gosh, I don't drink during the week. We all know that.
Oh, just good.
All right, so give us a little bit of history, because you did before, but remember, everything you're going to share, nobody could hear except me.
Yeah.
So you're an attorney. You have your own firm. And where did you go to law school and grow up?
So a little confusing, I guess. If my accent sounds weird, it's because I'm half Tennessee, half Boston, right? So I spent a vast majority of my life in Tennessee, and then ended up in Boston for law school, and then practiced law in Boston for a while. So it's two like completely separate accents, as you can imagine. So I would like to think I have a neutral accent.
You have a neutral accent? I can
Yeah.
hear it sometimes when you say Boston or law or something.
After a
like
few cocktails, for some reason, the Boston.
that. Oh, it all comes out? Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it's how it
My
goes.
New Jersey comes out a little
Is
bit
that right?
when I'm drinking, yeah.
But I took the bar exam in Massachusetts and Florida when I got out, like 2004 at the same time. So you had to fly back and forth. I got lucky and passed both. And I just got cold as hell one day in Boston. Really, it was like April, you know?
It's freezing up
It was
there.
April, it was still snowing,
Yeah.
and I just literally up and moved. My girlfriend at the time was incredibly mad at me, as you can imagine. She was like, well, fine, if you're going to move to Florida, that's okay, but just promise me you're not going to move to South Beach. So I packed up my car and moved to South Beach
Of course
right
you
away.
did, because you're oppositionally defined.
Yeah, and
Aren't most attorneys oppositionally defined?
yeah, I guess so. So practiced law in Miami for a while, and then I've been in Orlando, I don't know, at least a decade now.
So why law, though? Why did you go to law school? What was the...
I was a broadcasting major in college. Grew up
nice.
kind of poor, I guess, and I realized I didn't want to make $15,000 a year. So I said, all right, I'll go to law school. But it wasn't like one of these callings or anything. I literally just didn't want to be poor. And
so you go to law school, then you fall
yeah.
in love with it. You like it because you.
I mean, I think love's a strong word, Ted.
Can we not use the L word here?
I think love's a strong word. But no, I went to law school, and yeah, I'm in a position now where I can help a lot of people. This is no BS. I deal with a lot of clients going through a really tough time financially.
Yes, you do.
Whether you're losing your house, have a lot of credit card debt, the IRS is coming after you. So growing up, somewhat poor like I did, with just my mom raising all three of us on $25,000 a year, whatever she was
Wow.
making, it's tough. It sucks.
Right.
So when I'm sitting there meeting with clients who are going through a tough financial time, I don't have to sit there and fake it. I know exactly what they're feeling.
Right.
And you hear about bedside manner when you talk about doctors a lot, but bedside manner in my profession, I think, is equally as important. You know
Well,
what I mean?
I think that one of the great things about you, and we'll continue to talk about this, is that you have a calming effect, I think, when you're talking to people. So when people are coming to you with some of the biggest legal challenges, bankruptcy, foreclosure, IRS, they're freaked out. They have absolutely no idea what to do. But when they talk to you, you're calming. You're like, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of your life. We're here to help. And you can't fake that. I believe you can't fake that kind of authenticity.
You can't. And there's no real training for me. It's just how I feel. And I genuinely care about trying to help their financial situation. And what I have noticed is people going through a very difficult financial time, it creates so much stress. You know, you're rolling around on the pillow at night at 2 a.m. watching Kardashian reruns because you can't sleep because you're stressed out.
Right.
And no one wants to live like that. And what it leads to is medical problems, really.
Right.
And you can't do that. So I think we can deal with the financial problems head on, and there's always a solution. I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, we can always come up with some sort of solution to relieve that stress.
There's such a stigma on that, though. There's such a stigma on... I mean, it's gotten better. Certainly when we had the crash in 2008, everybody suffered. I don't care who you are. You suffered in some way, shape, or form, or knew somebody that did. So it took a little bit away from it. But people, if you say, I've declared bankruptcy or I need to, it's almost like you're a failure, and so you want to talk to somebody who's not going to make you feel worse.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, what's better right now? You trying to not say that you filed bankruptcy and be miserable over the next 5 years, you know, trying to pay off all this debt, or is it better to suck it up now and really fix your financial future where you have money to put food on the table? Now, let's get that over with now, to where we're going to live a stress-free life going forward.
Right.
That's the way I see it. I think we have to deal with the problems now as opposed to really just chasing our tail around, and who knows when it's going to be resolved.
Well, yeah, and I think people, when they get to that point where it's the end of the rope, and so they search out and look for, they get a referral for a bankruptcy attorney, or it could be foreclosure, you could be losing your house or being threatened with that. And not everybody has that good bedside manner. Not everybody, and so you go there, and if you have one bad experience with an attorney that makes you feel worse than you already did before you came in, then you don't want to move forward, and you just kind of bury your head. I know a lot of people that have been through that and feel that. And it's still, you're still getting a lot of bankruptcy and foreclosure cases, I'm sure.
We are, but Ted, you're a man about town. You talk to a lot of people. Name one person you can think of in your life, even people who are doing great financially now who haven't been through a tough time.
Exactly.
You almost can't.
Well, that's sort of the point of this show, is to kind of say, hey, and it's not just this show, but the show in general, there's a point of reference where somebody else is also going through went through what you're going through, or could be currently going through what you're going through, and to see it and to be able to relate to it, or to be able to talk to somebody or see somebody like an attorney, because for a lot of people, attorneys are scary, very scary, and that their perception is that you're unapproachable, or that you're going to cost so much money that what's the point? I'm already bankrupt. How am I going to afford that?
Yeah.
But people are looking for an out. They're looking for somebody relatable, somebody they feel like they can trust, because they're basically dumping their entire financial history onto you, and it can be an embarrassing thing.
It can be an embarrassing thing, but again, everyone goes through it. Please don't be. And look, the only reason I'm wearing a suit today is because I had to come on the show with Ted, and it's at the Citrus Club. And normally, I'm pretty casual. You're going to feel very comfortable at my office. So if you ever are going through problems, please, I promise, don't feel bad. I was thinking about it like this. So Hurricane Irma came through recently, as we know. Just as an example of why or how everyone goes through difficult times. So construction guys right now, after Irma, great. You know, my construction guy just bought a Bentley. He's doing fantastic. But how many guys do you know in the mortgage business or appraisal business or real estate business that had closings that got shut down because you couldn't get insurance or whatever?
I'm one of them.
So now you have mortgage guys struggling, the construction guys doing great. It's just life.
Right.
Every business is cyclical, and you know, everyone's going to go through a tough time. They're going to. I go through tough times. You go through tough times.
Absolutely.
We all do. So it's just, you got to deal with it. Let's just deal with it. And there are always solutions for that.
So what's the number one thing when somebody comes to your office? Are the bankruptcies the biggest thing? Are foreclosures? And do they come to you? What would you recommend they come to you in more of a timely manner instead of waiting till the very last minute? Is that what happens?
So what people come to me for is at the end of the month they have no money left. That's it. I mean, take 60. Say you make 60 grand a year, Ted. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good amount of money. Start taking your health insurance, your taxes, your fees and dues, and really figure out what 60 grand is per month. What's your net? I mean, it's not a lot of money.
Right.
You know, I mean, 60 grand, I think I figured out the other day, is a net of like $2,800 or $3,000 a month to live off of. We have to pay a mortgage with that. Now add in $20,000 or $30,000 in credit card debt. Your minimum payment's $1,200. I mean, there's just no money left at the end of the month. So we have to figure out a plan to make sure at the end of the month we're not having to get a 401k loan or there's just nothing there.
Right.
What do we do?
Right.
And instead of suffering through that, let's come up with a plan to avoid every month having no money in the account, you know?
Well, because it's you help them every step of the way. I mean, they're going to give you their entire financial life, and you're going to ask for it. And honestly, you should give it because this is the person you can trust, your attorney, and you're going to have real ideas about how to fix it, overcome it. It's not going to be an immediate thing, I'm going to assume, but that's okay. At least I think people feel better once they have a plan and they know that there's a plan to work.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You have to come up with a plan, and sometimes the plan is keep doing what we're doing. You know, sometimes maybe there isn't an option, but I think if you're feeling that financial stress and the strain, and you're up at night, as opposed to letting it affect your health and your mental health, especially. You know, I know you have a show tomorrow with a suicide prevention expert.
Yes.
I mean, I've had clients who let these sort of things malinger for such a long period of time that they've taken their own lives.
Yeah.
And there's just no reason for that. Look, when it comes to financial problems, there's always a solution. That's the beautiful thing. There is always a solution for past financial mistakes, and the solution's actually typically way better than you thought it was.
Correct, because all of us do. And by the way, before I comment on that,
Yeah.
if you all have questions for Justin, please feel free to post them. I'm keeping an eye on the feed. But if you have anything specific you want to ask him, and you can always ask him later privately, but if there's anything in general you want to ask, please feel comfortable doing that. And then also let us know you can still hear us and see us. I always like to double check that. I'm a little nervous today about that with you.
Was I the only show that we didn't
You are
have
the
audio?
only show without any audio.
That's
so
all right.
I think I have nightmares about that.
Please, I'm not, no big deal at all.
All right, so Irma, let's talk
Yeah,
about
go
claims.
ahead.
So I've experienced very recently having to push a little bit to get a claim paid. But thankfully I have a very good adjuster who didn't agree with the inspector, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But I know a lot of people out there, they're not getting their claims paid. And then people are frustrated, or they have their big 2% hurricane deductible, which we talked about on the first show that you couldn't hear, and then I talked about on Saturday. You needed to realize what your deductible was. But what do people do? So you get the denial letter, which is what I got.
Yeah.
And then how do you address that? Because people will automatically either give up, and then they can't fix whatever's there. What if it's something to do with the roof? What if it's something to do with, do they reach out to you right away? Do they reach out to someone like you while it's all going on? Like, what's the best time for people to reach out?
So just a little heads up, and I can be honest on the show, right?
Always.
Okay, so a little heads up. You've been working with insurance company A or B. They have all your policies. You've been with them for 100 years. This is called first-party insurance, meaning they're insuring you. You're their customer. You've been their great customer for all of these years. So you expect, after paying the premiums for years and years and years, after something bad does happen, like a hurricane, they're going to come right out there with their checkbook and just stroke you a big check.
That's exactly what you expect.
Well, I just want to be very clear about that. I mean, really, they're sort of paid in a lot of ways to stroke you as small of a check as they possibly can. So just because the adjuster who comes out to sees you, says that, oh, this claim's worth $8,000, that does not mean it's accurate. And there are options available, whether it's a lawyer, public adjuster, whatever. And in a situation like this, you don't even have to pay your lawyer. So if you have to hire a lawyer to fight with your insurance company, the insurance company, assuming you prevail, has to pay your lawyer fee. So it's not even one of these like car accident cases where they get 33%. The insurance company literally has to pay for the lawyer's time. So if you feel like they're shortchanging you on the amount of your claim, there's nothing wrong with at least getting a consultation with a lawyer, because you're not going to have to pay them. You might as well get what you can get. I'm not saying do anything fraudulent against the insurance company, of course, but if something's wrong with your house, let's get it fixed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And especially if there's water damage. I mean, you worked in insurance for a while. If there's water damage and that gets in the walls, it can be game over. I mean, and you can't even see it necessarily.
And a lot of the policies in Florida have a mold limitation or a mold exclusion, which I didn't even think they could do, but I've seen a couple of my friends. I'm still a licensed agent, I just don't practice, so my friends will send me their claim or their policy to look at, and I'm amazed at how many of them have a really small mold, like very small amount, or excluded. I didn't even know you could exclude mold.
You can, but again, yeah, the insurance companies are a little bit delayed right now, a little bit behind because of so many claims, but just you don't have to take the offer that they give you.
Right.
They're not always right. And again, they are trying to pay you as little as they can. I mean, they're trying to save money. These insurance companies, they have to build big buildings and things with your premiums. So be
Here we
careful.
go, some controversy. There we go. I
Be
like
careful with the offer. And if you know that it's not accurate or you think it's worth more, hire a lawyer. Might as well.
that. Right. Well, I actually didn't know that part, which is worth repeating. That if I would consult with you, for example, on a claim, that if we settle and we get more, that they have to pay your fees.
Exactly. It's first party insurance.
Okay.
So 3 types of legal fees. One is you come in and you give me a $5,000 retainer, and every time you call me, we send you a bill. First of all, my firm doesn't do that period anyway. Every single case we handle, or almost every single case we do on a flat fee. So no matter what it is, it's one flat fee you pay over time. That's what makes us a little bit different. No one else really does that. But most firms, you go in and you give them $5,000 or $10,000, and then they send you a bill every month. This type of case is not like that. That you don't no matter what lawyer it is, basically, you're not going to give them a check. And let's say the insurance company offers you $5,000, right? And then it turns out it was really worth $15,000. You don't pay the lawyer 30% of the difference. The insurance company will give you the $15,000. And then they have to pay the lawyer a separate check, whatever their time
Okay, that's good to know. I don't think
it's
I knew
free
that.
for you, essentially. So it's
So
not going to
there's
hurt.
no risk for them.
Yeah, there's no risk.
And I would recommend that too, even as an insurance agent. When you get that settlement offer, take it to Justin or take it to someone.
Yeah,
you should take it to you, because if there's no risk for you to do that, why wouldn't you want to have a second set of eyes on that?
You should. I mean, you've been paying this premium for years,
Right, you've been paying for a long time, and the insurance carriers, you've got your deductibles. There's so many things in Florida that make us unique from an insurance perspective, and a lot of times people don't realize that most of that has to all tied back to Hurricane Andrew, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's 25 years ago, when we are still all as Floridians having to deal with an insurance environment that isn't so pro-consumer.
It's true.
So, what about, I've got a crazy question, you may
Go
not know
ahead.
the answer. Why do the claims checks come in the mortgage company's name and the insured's name? And how crazy is that?
It's to protect the mortgage company, and it's in the mortgage that you have when you borrow money from Bank of America, whoever it is, because their fear is that, all right, the whole house is going to be knocked down, or we're going to have all this damage, and you're just going to take the money and then peace out.
Right.
So this protects the mortgage company in that they're assuring you're going to fix the property that they have an interest in.
So how do you deposit that? I get this question
Yeah.
asked a lot. So you get a Bank of America and let's say Ted Bogert. How do you deposit that check so that you can pay?
You really have to get the bank to sign off on it. They have to. So a lot of times the mortgage company or the bank's going to require the contractor to send proof that it was completed or whatever before they'll sign off on it. Now, if you want to make it really complicated, you should go through this process while you're in foreclosure, because then it gets even worse.
Oh my
because
God, I
now
can't
you have
even
a bank
imagine.
who's not getting paid,
Right.
and now they're getting a check for $30,000, and then you have to fight with them on, okay, is that going towards the money that I owe to you, or is it going to go repair the house? It's just a disaster.
So they wouldn't, in general, they wouldn't want it to go to repair the house. They'd want it for the back mortgage payments.
You would think so, but we're not dealing with rocket scientists over here at these banks sometimes, Ted. You know what I mean?
I like we're calling them banks instead of mortgage companies. I like that so much
Sometimes
better.
it's not rocket science.
I
Let's
understand.
put it that way.
Now, do you do personal injury as well?
We do,
Okay.
yeah. So we have a really, I think top-notch personal injury.
What do you think about Florida's PIP law, personal injury law? Because isn't it? There's been talk about that sunsetting, and that's our law. In case you don't know, no matter it's a no-fault law. So no matter whose fault the accident is, your policy is going to pay the first $10,000 less whatever all that stuff is, but allegedly the first $10,000 of any injury, no matter whose fault it is. But they've been talking about sunsetting.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm perfectly fine with it. The only issue maybe would be recently they added in a provision where you have to get medical treatment within 14 days, or
I read
it doesn't apply at all. And the only problem with that is if you've ever had an accident, you know that the pain can sneak up on you over time. But
Wouldn't you recommend to go get checked out right away?
yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you're feeling any sort of injury, or if you're feeling pain in your back, your neck, you really should go get checked out.
You should.
But especially, if you're 32 years old, maybe it doesn't hurt right away, but these back injuries neck injuries especially too, can really pop up later on, and you don't really know what's going on. And the next thing you know, 2 years later, you have a herniation, you're getting surgery in your neck, and
it's all tied back to that.
You had no idea.
You're past your 14 days.
That's right.
What about bodily injury? Because I don't think a lot of people understand that too. We actually don't require that until an accident. Is that the truth?
It's nuts.
So you don't. Okay, so that's still the law. So basically, a person doesn't have to carry bodily injury coverage. That's the coverage that would protect you if somebody hit you when you were injured.
Yep.
But we don't. You don't have to carry that in order to get your license and registration.
So I was talking about this on my radio show this past week. You can literally be sitting on Interstate 4 with 2 kids in the car with you, and some jerk off flying around, changing lanes, can hit you from behind and injure your entire family, and he is legally on the road but has no insurance. Right. You're not protected. There's nothing that you can get to compensate you for your injuries, and that's why we obviously always recommend getting UM coverage. You know what UM coverage, and I'm sure you do as well.
Well, explain it to them. What UM is uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage.
Motorist, meaning if you were to get injured due to the negligence of someone else, the guy rear-ended you, no insurance, your own insurance company steps in for that BI carrier, that bodily injury carrier. So that way, there's no way you could ever be hit by an uninsured car because your insurance is going to step in and pay for it. What I have also found, which I think is disturbing, is the UM carriers. You're their customer. You've been paying their premiums. Can sometimes be a little cheap on them taking care of you, but at least you have something there. You know.
Well, yeah, uninsured motorist is definitely something, especially in our state where bodily injury isn't required to get on the road. You want to talk to your insurance agent about that, because that is a coverage that I see all the time being utilized because of the fact that you get rear-ended by someone who either doesn't have insurance or they have not enough insurance. I mean, that's also another thing. That coverage will protect bodily injury. It starts at $10,000 per person, $20,000 per accident. If you've got $150,000, $200,000 worth of medical bills, he's going to be underinsured, and his policy is only going to cover for that first 10/20. And you're going to have to sue him in order to get the rest. But what would be great if you had uninsured motorist coverage, then your insurance policy should kick in, and you should be covered, and then they would go after them. They would subrogate with them.
I think it's nuts.
I do
you
too.
You can drive around here with no insurance.
I think it's absolutely
you
crazy.
can be an idiot weaving in and out of traffic, going 100 miles an hour, and injure someone, but you're like, sorry, dude. But you don't get me wrong, you can still sue them, but this guy doesn't have any money. What are you going to get?
Do you find most people who come to you have a seriously legit, and then once they realize an attorney's involved, that they tend to settle more often or go a little bit further on it? Or do you have to fight them all the time?
The insurance company?
Yes.
They will always make a ridiculous offer at the beginning. I have clients come in all the time saying, well, I was talking to the insurance company and they offered $2,000. I'm just going to settle. I'm like, don't do that. You're crazy. Right. So they are inevitably, if you don't have a lawyer, going to offer you way, way less than they're going to offer you with us.
And again, there's no cost. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You all get paid on the settlement. Right. So to even at least have a consultation with you about where you're at instead of signing off on anything. And I tell people that all the time. Don't sign anything until you've talked to an attorney, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah, but the consultation's obviously free. We would never charge anyone to come in for anything. Although a lot of divorce attorneys do. I don't like that either. There are a lot of lawyers out there that
Andrea Morgan, are you listening?
Sorry.
No, she's fine. She won't take offense.
All right. It's just always, my philosophy has always been flat fees. No consultation fees whatsoever.
I don't think she charged. I think she's the same as you.
All right. Nice girl.
She's an awesome lady. We love
you,
Andrea.
Do I know her?
Redhead, Spitfire. She has a mediation company.
Okay.
She does divorce mediation. That's her primary thing.
But as far as the car accident case, it's a contingency fee. Everyone does the same thing. You're going to basically pay about a third of the recovery. So you settle the case for $100,000. You pay the lawyer $33,000, and you take the rest minus.
And you haven't had to pay them anything up front.
No, but it's different than that first-party insurance case in that if you recover $100,000, you get $100,000, and the insurance company has to pay the lawyer outside of it. So it is a little bit different,
right?
And that it's a contingency fee, but it kind of comes out of your recovery.
Now, what are you seeing on the foreclosure front? Because I'm still seeing a lot of people that are fussing with that, fighting with that. For a while, it seemed like the banks were either behind or just weren't interested in pursuing them as quickly, and now it seems like they've kind of teed it off and geared it up a little bit.
I mean, there's still a lot of foreclosures out there, certainly nowhere near where we were in 2009, 10, 11, 12, but there's still quite a few out there. And an interesting part of it, if anyone was going through foreclosure now, after the hurricane, most of the foreclosure cases were completely shut down. So the banks stopped all foreclosures basically in Florida because of Hurricane Irma.
Gotcha.
And if you had a sale date, they were canceling them. It was kind of crazy. But there's still tons of foreclosures out there, and the banks are still trying to work with.
There it is. We're still live.
Okay.
Keep rolling.
It's just something about
See,
me.
it's not. No, yeah, I didn't even do it this time,
I know.
which is awesome.
That's all right.
But on the foreclosure,
Yeah.
do you recommend that they work with, they try to do their own loan modification, or do you, because I hear that a lot too, because the banks are, it seems like they're at least offering that, or they're having to offer it. I think that's the law now, maybe, to have to offer it.
I would never ever do this yourself, and I'll tell you why. So the banks will say, "Hey, look, Mr. Smith, we're trying to work with you here. Don't worry, everything's under control." And your question should be, "Well, then why are you foreclosing on me? Why do I have a lawyer sending me letters, basically saying they're about to take my house?"
Right.
And the bank's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Everything's fine." Don't. You can't trust them. You have to understand that they're really trying to take your house. They're in the process of taking your house if you're in foreclosure. So you're trying to work with me, yet you're trying to take my house, and the banks and their law firms don't communicate very well either.
Correct.
So you need to be incredibly careful. You need to hire someone like me who can help you on the modification side of things or the short sale side of things or whatever it is, but also be defending that foreclosure to make sure we don't lose our house.
Right, because what happens is you get that, and it's a false sense of security, because you've gotten a letter from an attorney, and then they send you a loan modification package, which can be incredibly daunting task to try to complete on your own, and you think, oh good, so they're going to work with me, but my advice to you is that you're your own best advocate, and you want to hire somebody or bring somebody on who's your true advocate to help you through that process. That loan modification process is, because we're almost at 1:30. It'll come back on. Did you hit? Hi guys, are we back on? All right. Poor Justin. We did good for like 22 minutes.
Yeah, right.
22 minutes. We had it. Thanks, Danielle. We are doing fantastic, she said. But just keep that in mind. Anyone who, if you're going through a foreclosure, you're going through a bankruptcy, you really, really need to have somebody's help to do that. And you can't, I would never recommend somebody try to do a loan modification on their own. And there's a lot of companies out there that do that, and I'm not against them. But I mean, my personal suggestion would be you want to talk to an attorney, not go through a third-party loan mod company.
I agree. But there are also lawyers out there who will defend the foreclosure and say, yeah, you're on your own, pal, when it comes to dealing with the bank on the loan modification part, which quite honestly is the more difficult part.
Okay, so that makes you different.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought all attorneys who did foreclosures would help with the loan modification. Because isn't that the ultimate goal, is to get if you're in the position to, get a loan modification?
It's this whole like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm too good to do all this stupid paperwork with the mortgage company attitude. A lot of people have that. They say, you go hire a lawyer to help you save your home, and they'll say, oh, we'll defend the foreclosure, but you're on your own with the modification. So be leery of that, because the real hard part is doing the modification, not defending the foreclosure.
Well, it's a lot of paperwork, and then you never know if you're getting the right paperwork. And then when they come in with the offer, you still have to really read the fine print.
Absolutely.
To know what the actual modification means. I mean, you could have a balloon payment in there in year 10 that you don't know about, and that may sound good right now, but try when you've had a foreclosure or late payments on your credit history, try to refinance before that year 10. I mean,
absolutely.
There's lots of things to consider with that. All right, so we're at the end of our time. We're at 1:30. I think we're still live. Tell us your URL. How do people get to you? Because it's youhavepower.com, right?
Any information, youhavepower.com.
I love that.
youhavepower.com. You can even ask me questions live on the website. You click my head. it chats with me. You should get that. Actually, it's really cool. So
A chatting head? No, I've got to see that for myself.
The chat actually goes right to my phone, so it's not like you're talking to someone in some faraway, distant land. It's actually me. It's awesome, man. So the chat goes right to me. They ask me questions, and I respond right on my phone.
I love that.
At dinner.
At dinner. Well, that's the one. I mean, and again, the show is not to necessarily promote Justin, but I want to tell you that one of the reasons why I think that he is as successful as he is, and one of the reasons why I'm super comfortable having him on the show, is because I know that he's accessible, and I know people that are going through crazy times have to have somebody that they feel like is really in their corner, and that's what Justin is. So you do an amazing job. We appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
All right,
It's
thanks
always
for
great to
coming
see
back
you.
on.
Pleasure.
You heard us. We still had stuff going on. I love it. You can't make this up. Thanks to Fairway and C-Mark Group for supporting the show. They're our sponsors. And tomorrow we have Danielle Marshall on, and she's got a great story, suicide prevention, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for the support and love. Have a great one.